Hello, my name is Sue Ellen Estes, and I'm so happy to connect with you. If you have been thinking about writing a book, this webinar is for you. It will help you to overcome the obstacles which all writers face, plus it will give you some excellent training so that you too can publish. After all, it's time for you to write that book. Welcome to the webinar, It's Time for You to Write That Book. I have a question for you. Have you been thinking about writing a book? Perhaps you are like I was. For many years I desired to write a book. I even thought of titles and chapters. Occasionally I would scribble a few words on a sheet of paper, but I just couldn't seem to come up with the confidence or whatever it was I needed to make it happen. So I would tuck my notes into a catch-all drawer and forget about it for a while. It seemed so far away, even impossible. Though I had ideas in my head and a few scribbled notes, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to write. Was what I had to say really that important? Who would read it? Would all of my work be in vain? And even if I could settle those issues, the whole task seemed overwhelming. How could I ever undertake such a huge project? To make matters worse, when I read about other authors, I would feel intimidated. They seemed so self-assured. Well, one day I encountered some people who inspired me, down-to-earth, real people who had overcome some of my challenges, and my life changed. I listened to training which boosted my resolve, and I started searching for the information I needed to fulfill my dream. As I continued, my confidence grew, and I knew that God wanted me to write that book, so I just began. At first, I felt very insecure about my project, but day by day I took steps toward my goal. And the day finally came when my first book was published. Since that day, my life has never been the same. That was 2010, and since that time I have had more than 20 books published, which are available on Amazon in hard copy and on Kindle. Through my journey, I have learned quite a few things which might help you, and that's what this webinar is about. I'm here to help you write your book. My name is Sue Ellen Estes, and I am on a mission. As I was going through the process of learning and becoming a Christian author, I became convinced that there are many more people just like me. You may be one of them. Perhaps you too want to write a book, but just don't seem to get there. Today there are many tools available which weren't there in past years. Today you can write and publish your book with greater ease and less expense than ever before, sometimes with almost zero expense. My mission is to help you write your book. There is a great need for quality Christian authors. There just aren't enough good, uplifting books available. There are many people who want to write, but they seem stuck in the process. Maybe you are one of them. I've been there, I understand, and I believe that I can help you. If you want to write a book, but you feel that you don't have the know-how or confidence to make your book become a reality, this webinar is for you. This could be a new day for you. It could be your time to discard the cluttered thinking and confusion. This could be your time to take a fresh look at your desire to write, and it could be your time to actually make it happen. We will soon be discussing the how you write, but first, I would like to say a little bit about the why. Why books anyway? There's so many other ways to communicate today. Why are books so important? Well, first, what you have to say will enrich those who read it. Whether it's educational, inspirational, or humorous, your message is a gift to your readers. And second, your book will increase your credibility. Let's face it, not everyone will write a book. In fact, a very small percentage of people in your field will ever write a book. So you'll stand out as an expert when you publish yours. And the third thing, of course, you will be able to make some money. You may find opportunities opening up for speaking engagements and media events. When you write a book, people will listen to you, and it's just that simple. It will be another source of additional income, and you will be well on your way to adding one more piece to your puzzle. This webinar will primarily be addressing your hold in your hand, turn the pages, give to a friend books, what we call hard copy. The same book can then be turned into a digital copy. That will be great, but first we're talking about good old-fashioned books. And I'm pretty adamant about this. There's a reason for it. I'd like to tell you a story which explains. For 23 years, our family lived in a house which we had purchased from my husband Mickey's family. This slide shows you a picture of that house. It had been in the family for more than 130 years. Mickey's great-aunts and great-great-aunts lived there from the late 1800s to 1981. They were all professors at a small liberal arts college nearby, truly women achievers before the time of women achievers. All three of the aunts had advanced degrees in their fields, and they were lifelong learners. To prove it, every one of the 13 rooms in the house had bookcases loaded with books representing many, many areas of interest. Every closet still had books and papers written in earlier times. One of my favorite pastimes was to go up to what had once been Aunt Bess's room and pull down boxes of letters and papers from the top shelf of her closet. There were letters and diaries written more than 100 years earlier. As I read the beautifully penned writings from that time, I felt that I was capturing the flavor of years long past. It was like being there and understanding the attitudes, the customs, and the desires of another time. It was a very unique experience for me. In fact, it was an understanding I could never have acquired from reading history books. This was personal, expressing the very core of thought these women had those many years ago. Fast forward to today and think about our writing norms. We're digital and loving it. Me too. We communicate by way of text and email, and most of our bills are now paperless as we use the internet to make our transactions. Many of our books, magazines, and newspapers are now accessed online or on digital devices. All of this is terrific. It saves a lot of time. But what are we leaving behind for our children and grandchildren, for the generations to come? Technology changes so quickly that many of the devices we use now may be obsolete in a couple of decades. Just think about all of the VHS or cassette recordings we might have piled up in a drawer. It's not easy to access that information today. That's why I believe that you and I need to leave something written on paper for future generations. There's nothing which can replace holding a book in your hand and experiencing the thoughts, emotions, and desires of another. When you write a tangible book, you will be leaving a legacy for future generations, as well as helping people today. And by the way, when you write a tangible book, you can also put a copy on Kindle or Nook to be read on digital devices. You have the best of both worlds. So now that we've established that, it's time to ask yourself, do you want to write that book? If so, why haven't you already written it? For that matter, why did I wait so long before I wrote my first book? In reflecting on my journey and in working with other would-be writers, I've identified some of the hindrances which stand in the way. So let's focus on some of these hindrances, see which ones apply to you, and see how we can overcome these obstacles. Hindrance number 1 is I'm not sure that what I have to say is important. Do you ever think that? Most people do. It's easy to bounce back and forth. One day you have confidence in your message. The next day you aren't so sure. Then you come across a book which says something similar and you think, well, my message has already been spoken out there. No one needs my book. When you search for books on any subject, you'll find lots of different titles and authors with many different successful books, with many different points of view. And if you ask authorities on these subjects about their favorite books, they will all have different lists. If you notice, the operative word here is different, because there are so many different people, and not everyone will listen to what you have to say. Different authors resonate better with different people. So what you have to say is important. There's a joke we often hear when our legislators stand before the cameras and rant about their favorite subjects. One person will express their views, then another will stand and with a few different words express the same views. The joke goes like this: everything has been said, but not everyone has said it yet. And we laugh at this, knowing that each legislator wants to get up and have their time in the spotlight. And so, truthfully, the way one person expresses an idea may inspire certain people, while others are inspired in a different way. The same message spoken with a different voice can be meaningful to more people. The same applies to writing. The way you write, the way you see things, will impact people that others cannot impact. A variety of personalities or semantics will speak better to a variety of readers. In addition, a unique perspective can inspire someone in a significant way. Our gender, our background, our worldview, our writing style, all of these things can influence who might respond to our writing. As each of us goes through life, we accumulate experiences and understanding unique to us. We gain wisdom which could help others and enrich their lives, and we bless others when we share what we have learned. The mistakes and failures we have overcome can be the source of great inspiration for others. When you share how you have conquered your challenges, others are motivated to do the same. So remember, your unique perspective can only be expressed by you. Only your voice can speak your message. Will everyone in the world be transformed by what you have to say? No. Everyone in the world won't be transformed by any one person's message. But there are people who can receive the message from you better than they can from any other person. And those people are the ones who are your audience, your very special audience. They're the ones who will buy your book. They're the ones who will benefit from what you have to say, and they're the ones who will recommend your book to others. They're your special audience, and they're going to listen to what you have to say. Also very common is hindrance number 2. I'm just not sure about what to write. Sometimes people have a general idea about a book that they would like to write, but they aren't sure about what they want to say. They're confused as they think, maybe I should just give anecdotes from my life. Or perhaps my understanding of Scripture would be better. Or maybe book reviews. Or maybe this, or maybe that, as their thoughts trail off to another idea. If this is you, you need to master the mind game. Take some quality time to think things through. First, who is your audience? Women, men, teens, singles, leaders? In answering this question, think about who seems to receive from you the most. Which group are you drawn to as you mingle with people? Which group seems to grab your heart when you hear their problems? Also, think about the challenges you have had and what you have overcome. Are you a recovering addict? A divorced or widowed mother? Have you overcome financial problems, a disease, or other health issues? Then what have been your greatest achievements? Are you a successful businessman or woman? A creative mom? An avid missionary? An avid golfer? As you allow your mind to hone in on these personal questions, I personally recommend that you pray over your plans. It will become clear as to the path you should take. Then when you know your audience and think about their needs, see yourself standing before them. What would you say that would help them? What could change their lives for the better, or give them greater wisdom, or make them laugh for that matter? As you take this time, you should find your plans coming into focus. Maybe the confusion is because you really have several books to write. In that case, you'll begin to know where to start. All other ideas will be put on back burner as you think through your first project. Later, you'll take the same steps for your second book and your third. Now we come to the biggest hindrance of all. I hear this third one more than any other. Hindrance number 3, the project is overwhelming. I don't know where to start. This was one that bugged me for many years, and I often hear other people say that they want to write a book and even have the topic in mind, but the task seems overwhelming. They don't know where to start. It seems like a monumental project, so they think about it, but they put it off until later. They think about it every now and then and say to themselves, someday I'm going to write that book. But it never happens. We all know that that proverbial someday never comes. As I coach writers, I always remind them of the Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I'm sure you have heard this one a bunch. And okay, I know that this is almost overused, but it is so true in this situation. Our journey begins with one step, and it continues the same way. One step, then another, and another. When you think of the project as a whole, it becomes overwhelming. But when you break it up into pieces and take one piece at a time, the overwhelm disappears and it becomes doable. So for the rest of our time here, we're going to be thinking about the pieces, the steps we need to accomplish our goal. The first step, or the first piece, is that you decide the basics of your book. At this time, you go a little deeper in your thought process. We talked about these things earlier, but we're going to mention them now again. Who is your audience? Create in your mind an image of the person you're speaking to. This is referred to as your avatar, a picture of a person, one person in your perfect audience. Occasionally people will say, I'm writing for everybody. Believe me, people, that's the wrong answer. There's a saying, if you're writing for everyone, you're writing for no one. It's impossible to strike a chord with everyone, so if you try to please everyone, you miss the mark of striking that chord with your very own group. In fact, the more specific you can be, the more successful you would be at impacting your audience. So spend some time imagining the person your book is designed to reach. What will your style be? Relaxed and casual? Formal and studious? Obviously, the way you would address Army officers or business people who are merely acquaintances would be a little different from the way you would speak to your closest friends. Then, what is your message? In a broad sense, how will your message help your audience? What impact will your book have on your readers? This part of the process will involve lots of thought. If you're taking this trip, you want to know where you're going. So this is an important phase. After completing this portion, you should have much more confidence in continuing your project. When you settle these issues, the whole task becomes much easier. Nothing is ever set in stone, so you may insert changes as you proceed, but you have a broad idea of what you want to accomplish. Be sure to take lots of notes as you go through this process, so that you can be reminded of your plans. You don't want to start in one direction and wind up in another. Remember, focus, focus, focus. Next step, your roadmap. Using the information you've assembled, you're ready to put some thought into the overall map of your book. You create an outline. After all of your planning in step 1, you're ready to create a logical way to get your message across. First, plan broad topics of what you want to say in the best order for those topics. After that, you may have a few subtopics under each one. Write down the concepts which will help your audience grab your message. At first, these can be random. Any ideas that pop into your mind can be written down. But then think of these pieces as a linear puzzle. Start putting them together in a logical way. What do the readers need to know first? Then second, then third, etc. You may change your mind about the order several times before you decide on your final plan, but this step is well worth the effort. Your outline, see, is like the skeleton of your project. You'll be filling out the detail as you continue, but from this outline, you'll be able to establish your chapters, even your titles. Now you're really making progress. So next, let's write the introduction. You will undoubtedly make a few changes as you go along, but the main scheme is now established. And your introduction will introduce your readers to what they will learn in your book. When you have the skeleton of your outline and then the introduction, it is much easier to come back and elaborate on your ideas. This is a good time to decide on the title for your book. You'll want to have a catchy title and give people an idea as to what the book is about. Action words are really good to use here, and words which speak powerfully to your readers. Later, you'll be able to access my handout on power words and action words, which are good at motivating people. This is also when many authors think of ideas for book covers. The picture of your cover in your mind might reinforce where you're going as you continue this journey. In creating your roadmap, it's important to stay focused. By now, you can see that this is big with me. Don't get sidetracked by allowing confusion to slip in. As you're planning your book, you will undoubtedly have random thoughts which are off your topic. I could recommend that writers have a separate sheet of paper or another Word document which can be a catch-all for these ideas. They may be part of another book or a blog post or article. When you save these off-topic thoughts in another place, it's easier to forget them and stay focused. You know that they're safe for later on, so later you'll be able to take a look at these ideas and decide if you want to use them somewhere. Your writing will be more successful when you stay laser-focused on your message. Now, step number 3 is let people know what you're doing. There will be a later series dealing with more advanced marketing. But at this stage, it's important to get the word out that you are writing the book. This may seem like a strange time to delay your writing and start early marketing, but believe me, this is a good idea. I did not know about this plan with my first book, and not knowing delayed my first rollout. You know how media will start talking about books, which will be out in December or January, etc. When people hear about your book up front, it creates excitement, and people will be eager to read it. So, how do you accomplish this? Share with family and friends. Many times those closest to you will be impressed with that you're writing. They'll be sharing with their circle of friends. It's exciting that they know someone who is writing a book. The more people who are anticipating your debut, the better. Then make up a few graphics to put on social media. There's some free tools like Canva and GIMP, which will allow you to design some graphics for Facebook, Pinterest, etc. Think of some catchy phrases which will inspire your audience and advertise the upcoming release of your book. Remember, when you're advertising, let your prospective readers be the center of attention. How will your book benefit them? Rather than talking about how much you know, try to look for some areas of their need and give them solutions. Let your audience and their pain points be at the heart of every campaign. They're looking for solutions, and you're helping them. You're helping them find those solutions. You might want to print up some business cards which feature your book. You can share these cards with people you know and those you meet as you go to church, PTA, business meetings, etc. Be ready to pull out your card and leave it with them. It will be a reminder of your upcoming book. If you don't have a website, now is the time to set one up. And this can be very scary, but don't let it be. There are many easy tools for quick, simple websites. It can be basic, but the website lends credibility to your book. If you already have a site, add a page which introduces the concepts in your book. Just one page with a few points about your book, and your subject will be enough at the time. You can add more later, but all of this creates an element of anticipation. You want people looking forward to your publication. Now we come to step number 4, research. Regardless of your knowledge of your subject, you will want to do some research. Start by doing a search online for your topic. There will be news articles, blog posts, articles which can give you some fresh ideas. And it's great to read from some of the noted experts in your field. But don't neglect the lesser-known ones. Sometimes you'll discover some very unique information from these more obscure writers. It's a good idea to include some stories or quotes you have heard. Find out who wrote them, if possible, so you can give them credit. We'll talk more about this in a little bit, but right now just remember, stories are important. You may want to read other books on your subject. Now, don't be intimidated or confused by what they have to say. Remember, your voice, your ideas are important too. From these books, you can pull out some ideas to include in your writing. Quote the author if you'd like, but be sure to give them credit. Sometimes you will want to use data, comparisons, polls, or statistics. You can find quite a few data resources online or at your library. I'll say it one more time. Certainly, when including these elements, don't plagiarize. There are certain publications which are in public domain, meaning you are free to use those materials without giving credit. But be careful here. When in doubt, give credit to anyone you may quote or any material you use in your book. Now it's time to write. You might say, what have I been doing? But it's time to really write. Put the meat on the bone, so to speak. It's time to give the book your voice and your style. This can be a fun part for writers, but it can also be overwhelming. So here are a few suggestions as you proceed. First, write in chunks. Some writers I know try to write a certain number of words each day or several days a week, maybe 500 to 1,000 words, or more if you can do it. When you just do it, you often find yourself priming the pump, so to speak, and your words begin to flow more freely. Have a schedule for writing. Take note of the times of day when you feel fresher and more creative. Those are the times you should set aside for writing. Many writers like to schedule a certain time to write, and they write their thoughts without any editing. Later, they will come back and polish what they have to say, but this rough draft will allow some creativity. When you don't stop yourself to correct mistakes, your ideas come more freely. Yet, you don't want to leave your book in that rough state. So we come to the next one, you check your work. One writer I know says that if you don't correct your work 7 times, you're missing the mark. You'll later come back and redo your wordage. You'll also double-check for spelling and grammar. A quality book will have correct spelling and verbiage. Especially watch out for homonyms, those words which sound alike but have different spellings for different meanings. For example, there are 3 kinds of to. All 3 sound alike but have different meanings. Often writers will confuse these spellings. Be sure that you don't repeat yourself over and over. You can make your point in a couple of ways, but don't allow yourself to say the same thing in the same way too many times. When writers make this mistake, they appear to be trying to add more words, but not much more information. Repeat when you need to, but not too much. If your writing is casual, it's perfectly okay to use slang and to violate some of the writing rules. But I would say, don't go overboard with this, so tread lightly here. Step number 6, keep writing. Reread what you have written. It's interesting that when you come back and read what you've written, you can spot improvements you couldn't see before. Maybe you used a word too many times. Maybe your sentences seem sloppy. Don't be discouraged. When this happens to you, it happens to everyone. You can fix the mistakes and move on to the next item. Look for places for stories. Your writing will be more interesting if you add stories. As you write, try to put the people in the scene so that they can see what you're saying. Stories and anecdotes help paint pictures of what you're saying and generally give snap to your writing. Very often I will insert these stories or anecdotes as I'm polishing my writing. As you go back over your project, think of experiences or examples which can better enrich what you want to say. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so paint pictures, and your writing will engage your readers in a deeper way. When you're making a point, try to describe a scene to illustrate it. Involve the senses as you can. When I am coaching writers, I often take excerpts from my books and compare just writing the facts with the pictures I've presented to show the facts. Remember, you're talking to your audience. Imagine yourself sitting across the kitchen table or a conference table, it depends on your style. You're speaking one-on-one with someone. You're looking them in the eye and you're talking to them personally. Then write like you talk. This technique will enhance your effectiveness. Now we come to step number 7, design and format your book. Choose which formatting option you want. For my first book, I used Adobe InDesign. It's part of the Adobe suite of software, and it includes Photoshop and other very sophisticated tools. It's a very professional tool, and it will provide a beautiful book. However, there is a learning curve, and if you aren't using it frequently, it's easy to forget exactly how to implement it. Well, I'll just give you a hint. I kept a copy of InDesign for Dummies by my side while I'd signed my first book. However, I wanted to check out an easier approach for my next book. When I was coaching others, I wanted to see for myself how easy it was to work with Word. And I was pleasantly surprised. The rest of my books were designed with Microsoft Word styles. Their more recent editions of this program make it easy to use. It's part of the Microsoft Word software. The Word Styles program will allow you to format your book as you write. You can design page size, margins, fonts for titles and paragraphs, headers, footers, even automatically add your table of contents. I've been using Microsoft Word for my more recent books, and I think that the later editions do a terrific job. Occasionally you'll have a glitch, but that's true with any of the programs, and there's always a remedy when this happens. As you're designing your book, you will decide if you want pictures and where to place them. That may be done from within Microsoft Word also. To complete your book, you'll create a title page, copyright and info page, an author's page, telling something about yourself. And all of this will be included. All of this will be easy to do through Microsoft Word. Take a deep breath now. We've talked about a lot, and all of this is not as complicated as it sounds. Remember, when you take one step, one item at a time, it's not really complicated. Now it's time for step 8. It's time to publish your book. After you have checked and rechecked for mistakes, and after you have read and reread your writing, when you feel pleased with what you have done, you're ready to publish your book. Of course, some authors send copies to publishing houses in hopes of having their book accepted. In this webinar, however, we're talking about self-publishing. Up until the last few years, all printing was done through offset printing. It's a printing style where the printer takes the printing plates and prints the book from ink on those plates. My first book was published in this way, and I was very pleased with the outcome, but there were some drawbacks. To get a good price for your book, you have to buy a larger quantity of them, and so your initial outlay is much greater. Then you have to consider the space and to store your books, whether you want them to do fulfillment or you do. There are several other issues there involved. The rest of my books were published through CreateSpace, an Amazon company. These books are printed through digital printing, and the computer sends a copy of the book to larger printers, which work much like home and office printers. In the case of CreateSpace, the actual printing is free. Now, you might want to purchase your own ISBN number. That's the number which goes with the barcode on your book, and every book has to have one. Or you can choose to have a free number from CreateSpace. This is something you'll have to decide at the time. Then when your printing is complete, you can purchase copies of your book from the printer for a few dollars. And there's no minimum requirement, so you don't have lots of money tied up in the process. Then all of your books are offered on Amazon, so you have an outlet there, plus you can sell them at places where you're teaching or your speaking opportunities, whatever. You set up an account with Amazon, and they send you your profit by check or direct deposit once a month. CreateSpace is the Amazon program. Now, there are other self-publishing platforms. Some of them do cost a good bit of money. Some of them do more of the work for you, so you might want to take a look at some of those. Another one that is real popular is Lulu. It's another publishing platform, and all of the platforms that we're talking about guide you through the process so that you're able to quickly and easily have your books in print. After you've submitted your print version of your book, you'll have the option of putting your books on Kindle or Nook, and you'll have to change the formatting a little bit. This is easily done with Microsoft Word. So there, you have the highlights of your steps. You're ready to hold your own book in your hand, and there is nothing quite like that feeling when you finally see the product. There's your name on the front of the book. There's your title. It's a beautiful title you designed, and you flip through the pages thinking you are a published author. You've done it. Now it's time to market your book and make money. It's time to be rewarded for your hard work. You already have your website ready, and you've done some pre-launch marketing with social media. Now it's time to turn your attention to other methods of spreading the word. You'll want to do book signings. Churches and bookstores and other group meetings are great places to engage with your audience by signing your book. When they sign your book, sometimes they will want to buy extra copies for friends, and because a signed book is really special. There are many choices for media events. These opportunities can provide some of your best publicity. TV and radio shows, along with newspapers and magazines, are looking for fresh material and new people to interview. This provides a win-win for them and you as you gain the publicity. You will boost your social media presence. It's best to have a schedule for posting on your social media sites, and you can sign up with Hootsuite.com or Buffer.com to have your posts go out on a certain schedule, or Tailwind.com for Pinterest to do the same. You'll have more information on your website. You might want to start blogging and perhaps begin your email list. You can send out press releases. There's some free wire services which go out to reporters. They're looking for information to report. Why not report about your new book? These are a few ways to inexpensively market your book, and you will think of others. The bottom line is this: the more people who hear about your book, the greater chance they will purchase. And when they are hearing about it from several sources, the more interested they will become. Mission accomplished! But wait, there's more. You'll find that many changes will begin after this accomplishment. You'll have changes from your book signings, your interviews on TV and radio. Others might be reaching out to you. Bloggers may want to hear from you. You may be invited to speak at conferences and workshops. The fact that you are a published author lends credibility to your mission or your business, whatever it is. And you may find that your ministry or business takes on new excitement. People will be influenced by your book, and you'll be thought of as an expert in your field. Plus, you'll have a proud family and something tangible to leave to the generations which will follow you. This can be the start of many more books to come, and a speaking career or ministry enhanced by your new identity as a published author. So there you have it. We have completed the overview of how to become the author you dream of being. Are you beginning to see the picture? I hope that you have received inspiration from this webinar. I hope that you believe that you can do this just like I did if you take it step by step. I also hope that you see yourself writing and publishing your book. If so, let me tell you about another opportunity. Now I would like to invite you to a 12-week course to help you achieve your goals. It's time for you to write that book 2.0 is a set of 6 webinars which will be shown every other week, which will help you accomplish all that we have discussed and much more. In these 6 webinars, we'll be breaking down each step, and we'll be discussing the detail of how you will accomplish your goal. On the off weeks, we'll have FaceTime discussion in a private Facebook group. You'll be able to ask questions and discuss topics with me and with other authors. In taking each step, looking at more information, and taking the necessary action, you will be able to start writing or maybe finish writing your book as you go through the webinars. The 6 deep diving webinars will be one every other week for 12 weeks, just like I said. We'll be covering in depth all of the topics in each webinar, plus much more. We'll really get down to the nitty-gritty of it all. After you have listened to each one, you'll be able to replay the recordings of these webinars so that you can be certain to miss none of the training, and you can receive the information again and again. There will be homework each week so that you can implement what we have discussed. That's the most important part, is implementation. You and I will spend time on each topic to make sure that you understand and can accomplish what we're saying. And I will share my personal anecdotes and lessons I've learned. As I've written my books, I have really made some mistakes, and I'm going to share these with you. I'm going to share my successes, and I'm going to share my mistakes. You will be able to ask questions each week and discuss your work with other authors. You'll be able to join a closed Facebook group. Each week we'll be able to send an email to me so that I can answer your questions personally. And every lesson and every assignment will bring you closer to your goal. You will receive absolutely free 4 premium quality ebooks. Start with a blog. Engage your mind, creating irresistible content, and grow your profits with ebooks. You will also receive 2 PDF tip sheets. Power and action words to enhance your writing. You know it's really important to have the right words. Cheat sheet, power grammar tips, and you'll have weekly homework assignments so that you can implement as you go along. I hope that you will be able to join me for this great opportunity. You might be able to finish your book or be well on your way by the end of this course. For more information about this great opportunity, go to christianbloggers.com/book-webinar. You'll see that information right on the screen. Go there and find out more about how you too can be a part of this training, how you can help other authors with their training through the Facebook group, and how you can begin your publishing empire.